Investor Bonanza, it's real, it's happening, let's tell you more.
I'm the ringleader, so listen up.
Good morning, Mark. The Investor Bonanza. Chill. What a vibe.
We've got a bit of music going on this morning. Trying something different.
Because the investors are back and it's time to relax.
Yep.
It's time to relax. There's been a lot of worrying in the market. Where have all the investors gone? They've run away, but now they're back.
Yeah. You know what? It's been 5 years. The government was very, very mean to banks, to investors. The banks put interest rates up as much as a quarter to a 0.5% different. In the history of interest rates, we've never differentiated an investor loan to an owner-occupier loan. We've been very mean to investors the last 5 years.
They've had a big slap on the wrist, but now they're back to say enough's enough. We're back in the marketplace, and that's going to affect everything.
Yep. Land tax. They've had to pay a lot of land tax in the last couple of years. It's a hard landscape for investors the last couple of years, but why are they back so aggressively? I'm really interested to see. This is an interesting pattern.
I think it is an interesting pattern, and to be completely honest, there is not one reason why they are back all of a sudden. I think it's a combination of reasons that's happened over the last 24 months, 12 months. Like you say, they've been hit pretty hard for a while now. And in more recent months, things have started to ease up a little bit. It's interesting, some of the patterns with lending against things like first-home buyers. It's starting to turn around a little bit.
So, I guess holistically, good morning, Alessio. Good morning, Luke. Alessio's got a question we'll entertain in a second. But I think holistically, we can confidently say it's sentiment. Sentiment is always is that one holistic word that just sort of covers everything. And the investor sentiment is definitely strong. Creating that sentiment would be interest rates historic low. Creating that sentiment would be tenants are continuing to pay rent even through the hard times of COVID, which as an investor you would have been reluctant to enter the market because you're thinking, are these guys going to keep paying their rents? Good capital growth. Investors are seeing some phenomenal capital growth, thinking I should double down on this. I should not just have my home or that investment. I should have a little bit more, and can I afford it? What are the other reasons that's creating that fuzzy sentiment for investors that's powering them into the market at the moment?
Well, I think things have settled. Like you said, there was a lot of uncertainty. Things have settled. Yes, we do have music in the background. We thought it was needed today. Is this what you listen to on the way to work, Mark? Is this your standard playlist?
No, this is our software doing it. It's a new thing in our software that we use, StreamYard, and it's got background music, so I thought I'd try it.
But yeah, I think things are calming down a lot. Who quite knows where interest rates are going, but they're forecasted to go up, but there have been promises made to keep them at a steady rate. Any others, Mark, that you can think of?
Yeah, look, I want to answer Alessio's question because it's a killer of a question. Are investors looking into units also or just houses? I feel really strongly about this. Guys and girls, if you are buying a house of $2 million on the Northern Beaches, as an example, I reckon in the next couple of years, you will be paying about $1,000 a week on land tax. That'll be more expensive than your mortgage, and your rent will probably only be $700 or $800 a week if it's an old house. So this suggesting that you own, this investment property is above the threshold. You've got a couple of investment properties already. But what I'm saying is, land tax is a rolling 3-year average for investors. And if you consider the land tax at the moment for a house is about $400 a week, if you're over the threshold at the moment in Northern Beaches, that's how much you have to pay the government just to own the property. If that rolling 3-year average and goes up what the property market's just done, you're going to be potentially paying an absolute shitload on land tax. So to go back and to answer that original question from Lesio, we are seeing units doing really, really well, and we are seeing owners making the comments a lot about land tax. Owners are sick and tired of it. Commercial landowners, property owners, residential house owners, which is landowners, they are sick and tired of the land tax bills that they're getting, and they're looking at alternative methods. And if you buy a unit, people don't know this, a lot of people don't know this, you could pretty much buy $3 million of units or $1 million of houses, and that's the same land tax bill that you'll get for either. So you can own a lot more units than houses when it comes to land tax. So yes, people are getting into the unit market for that reason, investors.
That's insane. That's big. But to give you some numbers, Mark, investor lending is up 67.1% from this time last year. So I think that does sort of, back your answer there. Lending is everywhere. 67.1% from this time last year. There's investment everywhere, and I guess they only calculate that off an investor, mortgage. I don't know how else they would make that number, but there's definitely a return. There's definitely music in the background, and one thing that I think this does mean is that there's going to be a surge of rental properties coming back on. Gated communities are good for land tax. What do you reckon about that?
At least I reckon it's making it hard to hear the music.
Can we turn it off?
Yeah, next episode.
But I think there's going to be a surge of rental properties coming back onto the market. And talking from personal experience out on the field, there was definitely a shortage this time last year. There was just a bidding war for freestanding homes, quality apartments, something with a little bit more size, people looking to get into something a bit larger.
Yeah, look, I'm not a conspiracy theory type of guy, but it's really funny that there's more investors coming into the market and the international borders have opened where immigrants are coming back into Australia. There's definitely going to be a massive, massive need for rental stock. We had 1 million people leave Australia through COVID to go back to their own country. Those people are making their way back, whether they're students or whether they're key workers, and they generally rent and buy and need the rental accommodation. So it's actually a beautiful crossover at the moment where investors are coming in hard. I don't think they're going to find it hard to rent the properties out because there's going to be a huge demand.
Yeah. In addition to that, there was a note that first home buyer lending was down 5% as of the new year. So
really,
there has been a little bit of a change. Now, those numbers, might seem quite dramatic in the fact that, but you got to remember, that they were obviously completely imbalanced before. So whereas lending might have been super high, maybe it's just made a bit of a return. And for first home buyers, they might have had a surge in 2020, and now they've just sort of dropped back a bit. But yeah, it's interesting to see what the data says.
Awesome. Well, that's a good observation, guys. I'd love to know what you're seeing in the marketplace at the moment. We're definitely seeing that. In summary, in the marketplace, the sentiment is good. I think are rents going to go up?
I think Luke said it there. Rentals are in high demand. There is a good crossover. It doesn't seem like it's too imbalanced at the moment. I know we've got plenty of stock on at the moment. Doesn't sound like too much of a shortage compared to last year. I think it's going to track quite nicely. Rents up. Yeah. Not going down, I don't think.
No. And also rental arrears have been good citizens. Australians have been good citizens with rental arrears. If you look at the amount of properties that we have for rent in the marketplace in Sydney, in the Northern Beaches, the amount of arrears or where tenants were struggling to pay rent, I just cannot believe how low that was. Tenants met their commitments in the last 2.5 years through COVID. The commitment that they'd made on paying rent. I'm actually very proud of how we all conducted ourselves through that period as landlords, as tenants, as agents, in very, very hard and challenging times. Rents were okay for investors the whole way across. It was hard for some commercial tenants and commercial landlords, but that thing of let's stick together and get through it worked.
Yeah, and the government had your back as well. The government had your back.
Billy, another thing before we sign off, it's going to be very hard to produce stock. Luke's just sparked me on this. Building costs. I was talking to a developer the other day where he said a roll of cable, he could have bought for about $90 to $100 is now sitting at $1,100 to buy that cable in building. My point is all materials in building have gone up. It is much more expensive to develop a site or build a site. That is going to put a pressure on builders to bring stuff to market. It simply won't be cost effective. We've seen ProBuild go out of business this week, which is one of the tier one builder in Sydney. What does that mean to stock levels to investors? It's going to be harder for new properties to be built. It just won't economically be viable. What does that mean for current investors? You're not going to have a lot of competition with big brand new buildings coming into the marketplace. And this is potentially going to be for a long time. I'm not talking months, I'm talking years. 5 or 10.
So, some of the projects that you're currently working on, such as Havana and DY, have you noticed they're struggling or still meeting deadlines?
Look, it's very invisible at the moment. I don't think you're really going to show those signs. But it definitely catches up on these builders. So the bigger builders, it compounds much faster. There's escalation in costs. But it's just bloody expensive to build. So it's going to be really hard to bring. So if you're an investor, it's another hot seat that you're in, a better hot seat that you're in, because you're not going to have a lot of new buildings coming into the market because of the huge costs. Like if building's going to double, for instance, that makes a lot of economical sites uneconomical to build very quickly. And together with labour and materials, it's not an easy shift.
Well, you're talking about their profit margins, so you've almost got to double the money you were raising in the first place.
You could zero out the profit really, really quickly.
Yeah. All right. Thanks for the music, Mark. It's been a pleasure.
Can you still hear the music?
Yeah, it's more subtle. I think this is, nice.
I turned it down a little bit because Lisa was getting angry.
Well, there was lots of comments about it this morning.
Massive. Yeah, huge topic. Investors, massive. Great to see. Welcome back to the market, investors. And Billy, have a great day.
You too. Thanks, Mark.
See you, mate.